at the top.
Your main man now, having taken over Black Lodge Gaming, joined by the two most embarrassing woke jabronis in all of RPG annals history. These guys are far, far too mentally simplistic even to work at the new White Wolf or whatever foolishness that these idiots are calling their nonsense these days.
True.
I don't think I'm going to let either one of them talk. I don't think either one of you, any of the RPG audience out there really want to hear that. You're here to see your main man. So it's been far too long, and we love to see you. All right, guys, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Oh man, we're going to talk about whatever
within the Ring of Fire. I think first is what I want to talk about first.
I got some of this right here: 77 Thrones, the Theological Codex. You drive this into your brain, and it will never, ever be the same.
That's right.
That is true. That is one of my favorite. It's probably the best role-playing game supplement I've ever read. Yeah. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass.
Yeah, there's no probably.
Yeah.
You need to rewind that. That's very disrespectful of you. And you will be paying the price. I don't know if I need to sneak into Nick's luggage to get there. But when there's a whip, there's a way, my friend. And you will pay just for that insolence. And absolutely disgusted. I'm sorry for all of you having to hear that. You want to go there, drive through RPG.com, get your copies of Within the Ring of Fire right now, today, right now. If you need to go spend your mama's social security check, baby, get what you need and drive it right into your mind. That's
you definitely should.
And I remember you guys did a video on Within the Ring of Fire, and I thought to myself when I watched that, I'm going to have to correct both of you live and in person on some of the foolishness. First of all, why do you want to make it difficult to adjudicate for a hex grid? And you want to make it running and this? No. Listen to me, jabronis. You want to make it impossible to integrate with that sort of RPG hooliganry, nonsense, and imbecility. So I went out of my way to make sure that it was almost impossible to play my game on a hex grid. And I absolutely didn't want that.
Oh, yeah.
I found it, and I'll be serious here for a minute. When I was making the game originally, I designed Within the Ring of Fire to be an OGL D20 supplement, and about 6 months into the project, and that's why there is some vestigial elements of a 3.5 system in it. It's not because I was designing it to be compatible or designing it to be similar or using that sort of mental mind trick. It's the fact that I'd invested maybe 6 to 9 months to prove that you could use the 5-foot square, the hex grid, the ideals of D&D, D20, 3.5, and produce a deep immersive game. Right. And my thought as an RPG scientist going in was I was going to prove that my hypothesis was correct. However, my hypothesis was proven incorrect. So I had to just rip out a massive amounts of stuff I had to rip out and rewrite. Months of stuff was just thrown out when that realization really was driven home that you absolutely can't do that. So I had to go the other way and try to make sure that you absolutely can't incorporate that. So while there are clearly written rules about movement and running and so forth and how that works in the game, which we can illuminate later, they are designed to in no way integrate with that sort of system.
Yeah,
and we're going to be talking about lies and lying in a minute too, because you run off at the mouthpiece and showed you a new lesson I thought you did. And I'm embarrassed for both of you. Like, are your parents.
All right. I mean, look, dude, I searched the PDF for speed. There's no definition of speed.
Well, listen. Did you do a good enough job?
I don't know. Sir, we'll find out.
Sir, you didn't. All right. All right, boys. So we got anybody in the live chat yet?
Oh, yeah, we do. We got Bottle Cap here. He's saying good afternoon.
What's going on, Bottle Cap? Oh, there we go. Yeah. I know. Hope for the best. How you doing? Hope for the best, baby.
So he's actually
commenting on your main man's videos. Check me out. Wood WWAD, your main man, one of the original RPG pioneers. 15 years going strong on YouTube. God, jump on there and check it out. Hit him right in the noggin. You damn right. You know I will.
Right.
Yeah. So hope for the best. Drew is a good friend of ours, and he actually got no, but he was extremely inspired by Within the Ring of Fire, that whole era when we were running games online. Yeah, the game that we ran here on this channel, Ander, Hell and Back, was a big inspiration for him. Much so that he went and made his own RPG. and has kickstarted it a couple of times.
It's being fulfilled right now, right?
Yeah, it's being fulfilled right now. So I'm really hoping to get get my hands on the glorious offset print of his game. But it's called the Epic of Dreams, and it is all about immersive mythic role playing. And I think he has said that he owes you a great debt of gratitude for introducing him to that kind of game. So you got not only a big fan, but someone that you have inspired to make their own games as well in the chat.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and that's fantastic. This is going to be brought to us by Tropicana Light.
In association with yerba mate.
Yeah, right.
Primeval Fantasy RPG. This is a good channel you should follow as well. He talks a lot about otherworld immersion in RPGs. Multiverse DM, good to see you, man. Heath, our main man himself.
That's
right. Damn right, Heath. Your main man has invaded the lodge, and many tables will be broken.
And Hope for the Best actually wants to send you a copy of his game.
So my email is super hard. It's exactly the same as my YouTube channel at yahoo.com. So it's wood, WWAD at yahoo.com.
Nice. All right.
There you go. Paying it forward.
Yeah. So we'll be talking for the next couple of hours, guys, but we are super, super happy to have Ander on the channel right now. We have had some of the most glorious, when we talk about having that peak RPG experience, that total immersion in the game, in your character, and in the world. This is one of the guys who has absolutely put his money where his mouth is, and we have experienced the peak of the mountaintop together many times at the table. It's been a lot. It's been too long since we've played. Definitely have to get another game going. Maybe I'll run Within the Ring of Fire again, but we are super happy to have you here.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Matt. We could certainly get something on the channel. Definitely like to play something you run, Matt. Now, for those of you that don't know, behind the curtain, Nick and I actually live in a similar area at the current time, and Nick has been playing in my current game that I'm running for.
I said they sleep in the same bed.
We sleep in the same bed. Nick is the big spoon. He cuddles me good. Yeah, he plays in our local group, so Nick and I play together a lot. But I haven't played with you in years now, Matt, and
it's been years.
I definitely would like to. I mentioned that to Nick, so let's get something going sooner than later.
Definitely,
figure out some time we can do that.
That'd be fun. Definitely will. Anyway, so
it'll be really easy for you guys to watch because we'll stream it about 15 minutes later. We'll all be dead, and it'll be the quickest live play you ever watch. You'll see the entire campaign, the entire saga, it all.
Yeah. Andrew used to call me Slaughterhouse Matt. After a couple.
I mean, I'm not currently saying this, so I guess it was in the past. 15 minutes ago is the past, I suppose.
Yeah,
I like lethal games. I actually my current game that I'm running at home is only 2 sessions in because our previous game had a total party kill, but that was entirely their fucking fault.
No, it's always their fault. Fucking victim blamer over here. And I thought you were progressive, Matt. What's wrong with you?
Oh man, couldn't be farther from that.
No.
You know what was really funny? It reminds me you did something with me. We did something together, and somebody thought you a social justice warrior. like 6 or 7 years ago. You're like, what? Yeah, like one of the highest degrading insults.
Very true.
Yeah. So I've never asked you this before, but how did you get into role-playing games in the first place? Let's get those standard interview questions out of the way.
Oh, we're doing that format? Okay. I thought I was going to yell at y'all for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That
will happen. Yeah.
All right. So when I was 10 years old, I was at a Catholic school. So this is what Catholic school does to you. So, TPK, Matt, definitely in the house. You are correct about that. So this is, I want to say 5th. I believe I'm correct in saying fifth. I think that's 5th grade.
That sounds about right. Yeah, you're 5 when you're in kindergarten. So.
It was either the end of 5th grade or in 6th grade. I can't remember. Anyway, that's irrelevant. I'm 10 years old in Catholic school. This kid, Damian Mojica, he had come in. I guess he had played D&D or heard about D&D or something, and created something off of, as a 10-year-old mind, barely understanding what he was doing. And he had this deal. And I came in like session 2, like all these people played session 1, and I'm like doing something else. Like I was playing backgammon because I was the school backgammon champion. I know that's fucking strange, right? But I was really good at it. And he had this deal. So they were talking to me, hey, come play. And like he had all these kids playing, and then like session 2, it like falling down. It was like me and a couple other guys. It was me and this guy, Arlen Hake and Damon Mojica, and we would all play. Damon was running it at first, and he would run and play at the same time. And basically, like you'd fight something, and when you killed it, you'd get its hit points, but you never could recover hit points any other way. And then I started playing, and I started like adding, tinkering, and like, oh, what if we, instead of doing that, because it's just getting ridiculous, why don't we like get some hit points back when we eat, or this sort of thing, like taking that kind of idea from Gauntlet and start taking things together. The first game I ever ran using like the nonsense he put together was actually a science fiction post-apocalyptic War of the Worlds type of game. So I can still vaguely remember that. We'd sit down and play at lunch, at recess, like after school, and like sometimes I go over, like I was better friends with Damien than Arlen. And I'd go over, we'd have like sleepovers at each other's house and just play for hours. And then I took it and started running it for a lot of people who became my long-term players, like my nephew Scott, Tim Healy, people like that I've played with since I was 10, and brought that in, and we're playing that sort of RPG. So it was off of that. When I was 12 years old, that's 7th grade, I had a buddy, Paul Rodriguez, still remember him, and he had some Monster Manuals, AD&D First Edition. So I got Monster Manual 2. I went over to his apartment and bought the Monster Manual number 2 for. I gave them $10 for it. They were like in really, really good condition. I guess they were barely even played with. They're basically brand new books. But I got that from him when I'm sitting down, and he lived like in the major hood. That's something that never really, nothing. I never really noticed. But when my mother came to pick me up, she was like horrified because I just rode the bus over there, and he lived like literally on the corner of Crack and Rock, and getting shot. So I'm sitting there reading Monster Manual 2, assuming that teaches me how to play Dungeons and Dragons, having only ever played this insanely off-brand, barely understanding what we're doing, but we understood tropes, we understood movies, we understood monsters, we understood interaction. We had fun with that, but we didn't really know what we're doing. And then Monster Manual 2, I'm like, and I'm reading at the very beginning of Monster Manual 2, the first few pages are confusing as fuck if you've never played a role-playing game before. They are confusing. And I eventually, maybe within that same year, I got like the 2nd edition had just come out at this point. It is sick up until you have like 80 times the amount of hit points that you probably otherwise need. It's like, I have 812 hit points. So,
who needs levels?
So there wasn't anything like that. No. We just had hit points, and then we rolled like a couple of 6-siders, and I don't even remember how we hit things. I can't remember, but it wasn't good. But it was great. As we're telling stories, we're having so much fun, and that was something I fell in love with since I'm that years old. And I have basically never. Nick is definitely not Niles. That is. No, please don't say that. Take that back. I'm just blistered the man, and even I'm saying that's out of bounds. We can get that out of here. Just get out of here with that trash, baby.
Gorgeous, getting castigated by the main man.
As well, you should be for your blasphemous tactics. So, having engaged in that, played that, and experienced those games, really got me primed up to play it. And we started vaguely learning and barely playing, with my friends. And by the time I'm like in 9th grade, I think that's when I got into my first real game of D&D with this guy Paul, and we played like one time. And looking back on that now, in a lot of ways, it was even more awful than what Damien had come up with, because it didn't have some of the love, and it was bad. But then by 10th grade, I another friend named Damien, not a different guy, Damien Baker, brought me. He looked like, if any of you know WCW wrestling, he looked like a 15 or 16-year-old version of one of the Nasty Boys. That's what he looked like. He was fat and like all jacked up looking. But he brought me down to what's called the Gamers Guild, long since defunct. but it was a great place where I started actually getting in games all the time. This is when I'm like 15, and I started meeting people, and some of those people I even know now. So like Jen up at the shop, like I met her down there.
Yeah.
So I got into that world. So then I'm gaming. I'm meeting tons and tons of people, loads of adults and so forth. And it just blew my mind that I could just have games all the time. And a lot of these game masters were notoriously bad, and I've gone over them and talked about them.
Many such cases.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and it was rough too, because there were like straight up child molesters down at the shop. So there were beyond sketchy people. There were the Zorbu of the industry and people like that you would meet as well. But my friend Kevin down there, he's been on some of the videos. He's puts up comic strips for Image now. Of course, Frank I met in high school, but he would go down there too. Been friends with him for 30 years. Frank's been in some of my videos. You guys.
Yeah, he was. We had him on our channel a couple weeks ago.
Yep,
maybe like a month or so ago.
Oh, what y'all talk to Frank about?
Vampire the Masquerade.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does like some Vampire the Masquerade. Was he in one of the Hangouts or something?
Same show as this. Yeah.
Hangout. Isn't this what this is called? The Hangout?
Yeah. Thursday night Hangouts.
Yeah. Thursday night Hangouts.
I mean, that's what it says.
But we're confusing this with Google Hangouts.
Google Hangouts.
That's what we
also
used to play.
long since defunct. Yeah.
I mean, who had it first? What do I know? All right. So there you go. That's kind of how I got into it, and it kept going from there.
Yeah.
And I basically learned how to run games by seeing the stream of mistakes other people made. I was like, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad.
Right.
How do I not do that?
Yeah.
So, and then just start slowly figuring out what was good. And then I'm sure you've heard Frank talk about my legendary Ravenloft game. It was either 16 or 17, and it went for about 4.5 years every Friday. And we would play from the time school got out till like 2, 3 in the morning. And I'm 16 or 17. Literal adults are like 30 years old were showing up to my house to play, and it was like the hot ticket. And nowadays you guys have this great resource of YouTube that is an insane double-edged sword, because you can go and find channels that can teach you, and you can learn, and you can, like these guys right here, that you can learn something, or you can go to some of these channels that, I mean, the people should be horsewhipped publicly for the falsities and nonsense that they spew.
We're trying to horsewhip.
I think that's a bit too lenient. I would say.
Well, I mean, let's bring them on here
die.
and let's get a hold of them. Let's do that. Let's do that next week. I'll come back. We'll get a few of them, and each location will whip one of them.
Yeah.
I'll start with Matt Mercer, and you guys can get who you want.
Okay. Well, if you can wrangle him, I'll be happy to partake of
next week. Sure.
Yeah. So, obviously, you've been not only in the hobby for a really long time, you've been in the RPG scene on YouTube for a very long time, and like you said, paying attention to how different people run things, put things together, noting what's good and what's not, and using your own imagination to create your own games, and eventually Within the Ring of Fire. I'm curious, pivoting to Within the Ring of Fire, it's been, how long has it been? 10 years since that?
Almost.
Yeah,
almost
something like that.
10 years in December.
Yeah. Book of True Names. The Last in Line, maybe.
Right.
We'll get to that.
Hopefully not.
What I'm really curious from you, because as Matt, you noted at the beginning.
And I just want to say, I love that cover. Saga Book. That's both Saga Book and 77 Thrones are two of my favorite covers for any game. They're really evocative, and I feel like give you exactly what you should expect for the atmosphere of the game.
Yeah. And to that effect,
whoever you got to do that art for the cover is just awesome.
Well, this is Alex Gillett, and to give you the story behind this, what I
remember him. Yeah,
he's a great guy. What I told him is, I said, look, what I want to do, let's take it all the way back to the very beginning, because a role playing game is really that story told around a fire. So we have the fire, we have the ogre. He's telling the story. It's primitive. There's cave paintings, there's darkness, and there's imagination of that sort of idea where he's conjuring up this story where you can see the fire is turning into something. So that's kind of what I pitched him, and he came back this. I was like, oh my God, he can get things in one shot. I mean, that guy's he's a very, very smart person.
But that's Nick, I cut you off. No, that's also a credit to you, because what you just described as being like, I want this like primordial primitive story and everything, like you knew what you wanted, which is talking to artists is always the best. It's probably the
Right,
best thing
right.
for them. And I think a lot of people are like, I want a cool cover, and then the artist is like,
Yeah.
what? Okay, what do you want
Yeah.
though? Um,
Not
so this is,
particularly helpful.
yeah, it is clearly a game that has vision, and it's a really wild, vivid vision, and
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And sorry, I know Nick, you were. I'll
No,
let
it's
you get
fine.
back before I
No,
before I
it's
go
all
on my
good.
own tangents and questions and
Yeah,
whatnot,
yeah, yeah.
and
Of course.
yeah, and heap a bunch of praise on this game. Uh, why don't you continue?
Well, I mean, it all feeds into what I was going to ask anyway. You have such a strong vision for the game. You have very strong opinions on what is good and bad gaming and how to put together a session and a setting. Matt, you mentioned we came together through Ring of Fire. You
Mhm.
inspired someone else to make their own game. People had for people who were not in the online Ring of Fire community back in the day. It was a really vibrant sort of, I wouldn't say flash in the pan. It lasted a good couple of years of really hot, like, pedal to the metal activity. A lot of people had very strong opinions, some very strange opinions
Yeah.
about within the Ring of Fire. I like this. I don't like this. Oh, this is really interesting to me, but there's very little written about it. I'm curious what your take is, Andrew, as the creator of the game, to how people, the community, such as it is now, although there is a still quite active Discord community
Oh yeah.
about within the Ring of Fire. What do you think about? What's your reaction and opinion on how people have reacted? Close to 10 years after the fact to within the Ring of Fire. What people found interesting, what they didn't find interesting, what was unexpected to you. I'm just
Yeah.
curious from a creator's take, like how, like looking back on how other people have taken your game, not only in the sagas that are online, but the commentary that's going on in comments and in Discord messages and YouTube comments and Facebook groups. What has that been like? What is your take on all that?
I mean, it's been very nice. There was an incredibly positive reaction, and then people that I have never interacted with. I've watched loads of. I mean, there were so many reviews.
Sorry. I will just be putting these things up, but Justin says the biggest problem with Matt
Yeah.
Mercer is that he's just lazy, but he does do it with enthusiasm.
I mean, these guys are the poisonous enemy of your creative imagination. So they can pretty much eat a dick. That's the biggest problem. Is you're not eating enough dick, I guess. Um, Choke on it good. Iron Sheik style. So I got tons of review videos. I don't want to say I'm shocked because that's not really the way that I, as a person, approach life. I don't
Mhm.
really react to things that way. Um, I guess if I did, I probably would have been that there were that many and just people coming out and saying, "Oh my God, I love this. This is great. I've never seen anything this good." Some ginger jabroni said, "This is how does it feel to have made a game better than Dungeons and Dragons?" So that was a
Yeah.
pretty nice one that I got. At the very end of your review video,
Yeah.
Matt, and
Yeah,
I think that might have been before I even met you. Um,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
that was nice. I got an enormous amount of love from the community, so that was really fantastic. Just to see all that, that was very nice. There were tons of people that put videos together, that put comments together. They got on forums, and I saw all kinds of stuff. Good. I've taken a look at it. I'm not like the kind of person that I didn't like if it was there, I looked at it and was happy, and I put like a little play test together, a playlist together. Excuse me,
Mhm.
words are hard, but I'm sure there was a lot more because I would kind of look and I wouldn't go through like each and everything that people put out, but I thought it was very nice,
Mhm.
and I got some just some really wonderful comments and some great love from people about what I put together, and I mean for me, it how can I put this? It wasn't about like a process of making money, and it wasn't about a process of getting fame from people, or a process of, oh boy, this is fantastic. It was a process of trying to almost like write a love letter to the love of my life, which is role-playing games, which is this hobby that's given me so much since I was 10 years old, trying to give something back because I saw malignant forces trying to run it completely the other way, trying to tell people, oh no, anything you want to do is fine, and whatever trash you want to throw out there should be recognized just as equally as artistic engagement, as beauty, as weaving of creativity. So I found that whole idea incredibly offensive, and needed to give something to people, needed to tell people, okay, look, this is how I do it. And I wrote these. That's why I did a channel. I'm like, I've never monetized my channel. I've never taken a sponsorship from anyone. I've never done any of that. You are no ads on my videos.
So just so you know, we have monetized our channel. We will sell out. We will run ads. We will take sponsorships. So,
but I've never done that. I've been approached a bunch of times for different sponsorships over the years, and this and that. I've never been interested in that because this wasn't the reason that I did all this. The reason I did all this stuff was to share the way that I role played, because from all the people I interacted with, I saw that other people don't have that, and that creative and smart people could be shown a path to get there, because I trained people to play from the age I'm 10, and those people universally became extremely good role players. And I said, well, the more people that I can share that with, the more people are going to take to it. And most of the people in the RPG community aren't going to be able to take that. They're not going to be able to put together a good game. They're not going to be attracted.
Correct.
They're going to go to one of those guys that makes the
a message we have long since proclaimed.
Absolutely. And you're right. And we've been up there together at game stores, and we've seen the direct that comes in. That's not for them. This wasn't for them. I don't want them buying it. I don't want them playing it. I don't want them.
They won't play it, and they can't understand it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want that at all. So please don't. I definitely don't need your money that bad. I got a job. I'm fine. But
welcome, Buckquack. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, Buckquack? That's an old school fan of mine, baby. What's going on, buddy?
From back in the day,
if you will. He still comments on my shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, he comments on our stuff. I talk to him on Discord. Once every 2 months when I log into Discord.
I'll be taken in by these guys, Buckquack. They're no good. We're getting extremist conscious as my mind works, but basically, I mean, it was amazing. It was very nice. It was definitely a positive thing. It was definitely a lot of love I received from a lot of people. The amount of negative comments I received were incredibly small compared to the positive, and it was generally from people that I know didn't really read it, because the comments they would make were, "Oh, this is just vampire and D&D." I'm like, "Oh God, you didn't read that, did you?" So that was kind of the comment was basically based off of someone who clearly probably shouldn't like me, because I'm bombastic and not afraid to, in a comical way, give you a very real opinion.
I can attest, being in the same proximity gaming with Ander, this is not an act. This is you get what this is not a character. Who you see on the screen is who you get, and we love it. We love it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people over the years go, "It's a character. It's a character." I'm like,
no, but this is
really
like I can of course see why people would say that, but it's like, we've gamed together. We've talked, over Google and everything like that a bunch of times. So I know personally, of course, that's not a character, but having read this game many times, that passion that you have comes through in the book too. Like, it would be impossible for you to for you to be doing a character and put that much passion into this really incredible world that you created. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. $20 super chat from Buckquack. I hate bad role players. I hate bad role players. I hate bad role players.
Correct.
Buckquack, you're making me want to put a tip jar on my channel.
Yeah, dude. You should do it.
Okay. And I think he had a good comment just before that one.
Oh yeah.
I hate bad role players. Absolutely.
No, well, that is good. But
right before that, I grew up on Woodwad. I was 14 and absolutely obsessed with your videos. I'm 24 now.
I grew up on wood, W-W-A-D. It is not woodwad. It is what would Ander do.
That's right.
Because once you know that, you need know nothing else.
That's perfect.
Oh, so we got another Ring of Fire.
Oh yeah, Onion Kid.
Trevor
How's it
himself.
going, man?
Oh, Onion Kid, get him out of here. That guy's a jabroni. Probably has a capybara running around with him.
Here.
Yeah.
I love you, Trevor. We need
just
to get
got
the game soon. I keep telling you that. I love Trevor. Trevor is one of the low-key most talented role players I've ever met. I think he is incredible, and he has a very under-assuming personality. So it's he's the kind of person that I think could fly under the radar for someone that's not sitting there analyzing everything that's happening. Trevor, you are a fantastic role player and a wonderful credit to the community. So I love you, baby.
Justin says, I longed desperately to one day achieve the glorious heights of being just a bad role player. Oh, I am something far worse, mediocre.
Well,
that's too bad, man.
That's too bad. You know, you
show up, try, succeed.
You know what? Let's ban him. Baby. No, I'm just kidding.
Ah, yes, the old goblin.
Onion Kid has become a goblin.
The goblin. That's right.
I still remember when he came in with the 1-2 on Ander with the Terso
Thalots. It's one of the species in Monsters and Men. One of the evil. Okay. I think Kraken made the Terso Thalots, or aren't they worshipped? It's been a long time, but they are a deep sea creature.
Okay.
I think when he says I think he's talking about Trevor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what I was going to say. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you.
I was just going to say I have no idea where the question was. So
you answered it. Yeah.
I'll go the next round then. One of the thing that I absolutely love about this game, and the thing that got me so into it at first, like obviously it was like you were making a lot of videos about things. You had your monster ecology. There was kind of a lot of build up to before this game came out, and we all had kind of a clear sense of what you were kind of going for, and it was exactly the sort of stuff that we wanted to do and we wanted to play. And the thing I love about your book is about Saga Book is the first chapter is about role playing, and you actually give some real advice as to what role playing, you tell people what role playing is, and you put imagination front and center the entire time. And that I think is like what everyone that we talk to on this channel, or within this kind of space that we've fallen into, it's like they're missing that whole aspect of it. It's this incredible thing that's going on.
It's the simplest thing, and yet it's the most thing. Yeah. It's like the most difficult to acquire for some people. And again, we've said it on this channel, many times, like talking to someone without an inner monologue or the ability to visualize. Some people just don't get it. Can't get it. Oh my God.
I was talking to a friend about this where he knows someone who can't visualize, has extreme aphantasia. Like apparently has can't dream visually either.
Right. Like John Green.
Yeah, there was someone, and he was explaining visualization to him, and he was like, so you can't wait. You can't apple and in your head, and he's like, what do you mean? Like, does it block your vision? Like, would you imagine it? Complete lack of understanding.
Explains so many things.
Yeah, I know.
That literally sounds like hell to me.
It does.
I mean, I don't even want to make fun of that. That kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't have an imagination. Oh my God.
I'm going to post a video tonight on the difference between acting and role playing. That's going to touch on how to be a good role player. Nice. I would be very interested.
Absolutely.
Seeing as I am a very failed actor, studied theater and all that shit. I'd love to see that, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Definitely.
But it's this is honestly within the Ring of Fire, it's probably my favorite game. There's
it's the game I've ran the most.
Yeah.
And most of the games I've run have not been on YouTube.
It's not the game. I think it's not the game that I've run the most. It's up there though. It's definitely up there. But it's definitely the game that attracted the right people. The people that I want to play games with and play in the style that I want to play in, and it's one of the most like just
Hey, Mr.
fantastic
Max.
settings that I've ever encountered. It's so imaginative. And one of the things that we've talked about in games that we like Vampire, for instance, or Cyberpunk, are two kind of really clear examples. Like the game has something that is just a built-in way of like generating conflict for the characters. Like something's gonna happen. You know, you don't necessarily need to be rolling on like random encounter tables and things like that to find out like what's going to happen next. What are they going to run into? What are they going to do? Within the Ring of Fire, the cosmology of the world and just the way that you set up the different species and how they all have these like genocidal holy crusades against each other and everything like that, you basically can't walk around Kavega Thale without adventures happening. Like it's just something the game generates this conflict, and there's always something to do and something interesting to do. And that I think is a huge point in its favor, because I think that there's a lot of games that don't have anything that just generates conflict.
Most games,
you know, most games don't. And I think that is probably a bigger reason why games fall apart than a lot of the other things that are kind of thrown around on that. So
yeah, you have to have that disagreement, that tension to create drama. And without drama, you really don't have anything happening. So you have to have that pushes it forward. So when I wrote, initially I wrote in a different style, which is probably what I should have done when I wrote the book as opposed to how I did it. Because I tried to lay this out and write it in a fashion that just felt like a normal role-playing game book written by, a marauder. So when I did that, I started writing it in a fashion kind of like the way that I talk, just pop, 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 and just frenetic energy, and this really trying to drive points home in that fashion. Something you said earlier with the way that I really my connection and what I felt with it. Now I started gaming with the guy that wrote Vampire the Masquerade, Mark Reinhagen, and that was the vampire books really kind of a slight amount of the Call of Cthulhu books, but the vampire books. And I had a really cool talk with Mark Reinhagen about this just when I were talking, and he said the person that really inspired him was Sandy Peterson from the Call of Cthulhu, way back in the day, because there was just hack and slash D&D, and he wanted to be more than that, And I said, well, vampire is really kind of what inspired me in so many ways, because it really revolutionized. Because when I guess I was about 15 the first time I had contact, I'm at the same game store with contact with Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
And it's just briefly after, it's still first edition Vampire at that time. And, having that talk with him. And I'd sent him, I think even before we published it, I'd shown him a bunch of this stuff. And he read the role-playing stuff. And and I said, well, what do you think? He told me he thought that was the best thing he'd ever read on role-playing game books before, which that actually kind of, I was like, oh, that's pretty impressive. Because this is somebody that I looked at as a real contributor to the positive side of role-playing games. And I think there's been a lot of degeneracy and a lot of Frankenstein monstering since then, which overall I think is kind of unhealthy to a game. But you look at the initial passion, and for those of you that are younger than I am, who didn't grow up in the 90s, that game was so quintessentially 90s, this goth punk theme, that's all gone. Like it is not, Vampire the Masquerade doesn't work that well anymore because it's
in the modern day. Yeah.
It's nothing to do with this. I mean, you had a game where you had, these vile street punks and these Bloods and Crips and neo-Nazis. That's literally written out as a concept.
Yeah.
I could try throwing that to Wizards of the Coast to put in a book, because it's raw and rugged, and being out there. I used to be in bands and things like that back in the day, and you would see people like that. You would see all kinds of like people when you were out at 3 a.m. that were not that would fit into the world of darkness. So I saw that, and and it was really an amazing thing. You'd go to concerts and you'd see people in a Malkavian shirt and a Tremere shirt. You'd be at the mall walking around, somebody with a Gangrel shirt, at the pool hall with a Ventrue shirt. So you would see that everywhere. And it was that, and they weren't people that looked like the D&D nerd. These were tough looking guys. These are guys that lifted weights.
And hot chicks.
Yeah.
And there were definitely, and that was a weird thing because if you saw any girls, they weren't necessarily ones that you were too into in the D&D gaming circles. Now, when you saw the vampire girls, I was like, oh my God, like you were finding like 8s all day long.
Yeah.
These not necessarily all the way up in the head, but all the same.
Nick made the point that, nice. There's always been, it actually hasn't been much of a conversation in the last couple of years, but prior to this, it was always like, how do you make games more welcoming to women? How do we get more women to play role-playing games? And Nick said the game to get women to play role-playing games has already been invented. Yeah. It's called Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
It already exists.
Yep.
That's something I really thought about when I put Within the Ring of Fire together. I thought about, because I could see at that point, and I did a video, years before I put Within the Ring of Fire out, about the increase of the female demographic in role-playing. Mm-hmm. And there are, if anyone wants to look at it, it's something like, just type wood WWAD and female game or something like that. You could see it still up there. And I saw this nerd culture when I was in high school. Nerd culture was not for girls at all.
Yeah,
girls did not like nerd culture. They didn't like any of it. Monsters, they weren't into monsters. They weren't into Halloween. They weren't into any of this stuff. This is like, as it started, and girls just a tiny bit younger than me started really clinging on to these things. And then, a generation below me, we saw the Twilight fans. We saw all this anime girl just coming up. When I was in high school, there weren't anime girls. There were no weebs and none of that stuff. None of that. None of that.
A better age. Yeah.
yeah. None of that existed. So, but I say that because I knew there was this female demographic, this nerd female demographic that was going to come into the RPG community in full force in a couple of years. So I definitely took that into account.
Mr. Max here is asking the important questions. Yeah. Why try to have more women play RPGs?
Because you want to have sex with them. That's why. In case that wasn't that. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you like guys. I don't know. But
big titty goth GFs have become high cholesterol nagging bitches.
It just depends exactly how big they are. If there's a gothopotamus, maybe not so much. But I have met a few big titty goth bitches through role playing, and I did not dislike the interactions. So I can't. It was Vampire the Masquerade, and when you have Frank back, when you ask him the same thing.
Oh yeah.
It definitely got both of us some fun times with girls. I mean, I'll just put it that way. We both have some pretty fun war stories. It might not be for a YouTube audience to consume. So yeah. But I'll go on to your next question here.
So I mean, all that being said about the immersive style, obviously, those here in the comments, this is, what is it? This is our mission statement. Immersive gaming, the immersive style, role-playing. So keeping that torch going forward. And Matt, you mentioned, I think there's the two aspects. I think you're right. There's two aspects which are the secret sauce in, at least for me, in Within the Ring of Fire, that setting that automatically generates drama. We've talked about this, as you said, with regards to Vampire and with regard to Cyberpunk, especially. It's the fact that I think basically all of the species have at least one, if not many more, significant, let's say, friction with another culture, another species. And you have to, if you're going from point A to point B, even if it's a very short distance away, the book so heavily imposes upon your mind this worldview, this prejudice, how your character should act. I'm playing a Freyne. I do not tolerate, and reciprocally, do not tolerate a Mihangi or a Kalfar. Or whatever the case may be. Humans and Ferrum, very built-in dynamics that are super forward in the character's mind and in how those races, those species are written. Combine that with how the gods, which are written personality first, that book is the best book in the line.
Yeah, in my opinion as well.
Yeah,
it's so good.
So
I would agree with that.
these two things make the feel and the picture of what the world is like and how someone is reacting very clear. But I'm curious for your perspective, Andrew. Like, how do you go about establishing a setting, whether it is what would you say, in the lineage of D&D, even if it's branched off sort of considerably, or more like a vampire world, or more like, take your pick, modern horror, urban fantasy, sci-fi, whatever the case may be. This is something that people get wrong again and again and again and again, even if a book is well written, if it's been well edited, if it's been well play tested. A lot of times a world can feel dull or uninteresting, even for all the flowery language. What is your take and what's your opinion, Andrew, when you're thinking about this or when you're reading a game? What are the key things to keep in mind when having immersion be the forward focus for those out there, again, like Drew, who are making their own game or they're doing their own homebrew world? What are some things to keep in mind from your point of view?
Right. So first of all, I've had a lot of people ask me this question. I've had way past 100 people say, "Oh, we're writing this game. This, we're doing this game.
Yeah.
And some of them have come out. Most of them haven't. But the thing you need to ask yourself first of all is, why would anyone care at all? What does it do? What niche does it fill? What does it give people that everything else doesn't? Is there a need for it? The answer generally is no.
Yeah.
If all you're trying to do is make Pathfinder Part 3, no one cares.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how really games like that became so big. I don't know where people perch themselves so heavily on mechanics to go, oh, I want Castles and Crusades. Oh, I want Pathfinder. I mean, to me, this game is just plagiarism. There was no point to them. And a lot of people, they think they're going to be that, but they don't have the money. They don't have the drive behind that. And before you're going to even think about writing a game, remember, you need to get you need editors, you need proofreaders, you need artists, you need people that can do layout for you. And you need, maybe in some cases, someone who can write for you. And after you're done all that, you got to market it. So it's a lot of work. Writing it is, in a lot of ways, the easiest part.
Yeah.
So and it is not easy to write multiple books, but and you got to come up with a system, and your system has to be good, right? It has to be good, because you can make a bad system all day long.
Yeah.
So, you really got to weigh all that stuff and come up with a reason. Hey, what do I do? So for me, it was about bringing a niche, because there wasn't a game like this. There wasn't a game that focused on deep immersion to this level. There wasn't a game that was dark fantasy to this level, where you could literally play someone who was running around and ripping people apart and eating them, and that was just fine. That was absolutely fine. The game did not care about political correctness on the left or on the right.
Yeah.
We have open homosexuality in here. We have, which wasn't something that wasn't as accepted then as it is now. We had open demon worshiping in here. So the far righty boys wouldn't be too happy with this. And for
this is fantasy.
Another game that
you're not just describing the actual world now.
Yeah. In another game I was working on for the same line, even we were even further, and some of the ideas I had to get significant amounts of publicity were a very, very, very very, very anti, the establishment of that sort of far right Christianity. I'm not going to go into that right now, but we had some fucking, which I might even still do. Who knows? We have some fucking great ideas. So with I think I got off
stream of consciousness.
Talking about the things you look for and the tips you would have for putting an immersive
determining
focus,
the niche. Yeah.
an immersive focus. Yeah.
So, I mean, for immersiveness, what you really have to do is design your game in a way that all the mechanics are fast. Your mechanics have to be fast because bogged down mechanics destroy immersion. I used to hate combat because you would, by the 8th round, someone's head just down. You know, by the 8th round of fucking trying to deal with the Sphinx's riddle, everyone's utterly out of character and just wanting to stab the game master because no one can get it and your characters can't get it. And it's done, but it's not done because we're sitting here over and over again. So you want to have a game that continually allows you to stay in character, right? It's make a character and stay in character. It's about becoming. See, when I play in here. Like that's why I have a mask on because the mask is taking a psychological tapestry. It's like a paper mache. That's what the mask is for, and taking all these different psychological elements and weaving them together into a persona that is not you and putting it over your face. One of the worst things I think people do are people that play themselves. That's one of the things I select out for.
No.
If I notice you are a person who plays yourself, we better be really good friends for you to be able to stay in my group. Nick knows what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It won't save you.
I hate the self-insert character. It's like the whole point is that you get to pretend, you know, you get to get away from reality and try something and be someone else. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who might be more interesting or cooler than you, you know.
Yeah.
This is the point of what and people don't get this. There's so many of the self-insert characters and it's always terrible. It's always boring. We got a question here though from Primeval Fantasy RPG.
What's up, baby?
He says, setting to the side, what gaming methods and mechanics do you think help generate the strongest otherworld immersion for the players? So kind of going off of what you were just talking about with having
what do you mean by otherworld?
Fast.
Can you send us what you mean by otherworld? Because that's a bit ambiguous. I'm taking that a few different ways. I want to make sure I understand what you want, Primeval.
I focus mainly. Well, I guess he can respond. I know this is Primeval. He has a whole YouTube channel, great YouTube channel, which you, Ander, and everyone here who hasn't subscribed to him definitely should. It's hard to.
I think basically it's about
immersion.
It's about transporting yourself to that place as much as possible,
right? In a world which is very, very different than your own, a person who is very different than you are. I know he has a very strong affinity for, again, like a dark kind of fantasy, sort
primeval
of
milieu.
I see that. That's correct.
But
all right, so what?
Go ahead, Ander.
Yeah.
What I would say, I try to explain it. This is so I'm going to give you this. This is how I explain it to somebody because I'm really passionate about role playing games. I got them I got this. Yeah. This is one of 3 bookshelves I have at the house full of role playing games.
He says, Nick got it. I have to qualify the term because immersion can be applied to anything: poker, football. It's entering the other world.
Character immersion.
Well,
I think
I got you.
Yeah.
I think I got you. So this is what I'm saying. So this is how I explain this to someone that doesn't role play because I never want to say, "Oh yeah, I play D&D." I will not tell you that because you will conjure up something completely wrong.
Yeah.
So this is a disservice to you. I, as someone who can communicate effectively, am not going to communicate an idea that puts an image that's incorrect in your head. I will not say I play D&D, though I do, and I like D&D.
Mm-hmm.
What I will communicate when I explain that I role play, they go, well, what does that mean? I say, okay, imagine you are in an impromptu play and you get to design something, an entity, an individual with certain guidelines. And then you begin to, as we talked about before, the paper mache mask, you take it and you just divine this psychology and you take these different ideas, these different mental focuses of this different person. And it might be something that's completely alien, like an elf or, a predator or whatever you want to have in there, right? You can play anything, right? You could play somebody from the 14th century. You could play an ancient vampire. You could play a fairy from a far-flung existence. You can play whatever you want, right? So But you can't if you can't put yourself in here. Otherwise, you just have a collection of stats. It doesn't matter what you are.
Yeah.
That's utterly useless. What do I need to think about when I'm a fairy, right? So let's talk about what creating the psychological tapestry of the paper mache mask really means. The easiest way to do this is expand and contract, right? So when we're expanding, let's take the fairy. We're going to make it curious. So a human is, you might be this curious. Let's go this far with the curiosity, but then we have to also come back on the other side and limit, so it doesn't understand this, or to get there, it's going to try to go this way, which is not the way a person would do it. So you need to not play a human with funny ears. You need to play the best you can do, because you can't actually be a fairy. But if you really put time into it, maybe for just a second you can. It's like chasing the dragon. You're trying to get the illusion to become as real as possible, even if you just get it for a second. And that is an amazing experience. That's when you're on the edge of your seat and you see it, and it's all real. Because
that's what
the game master is doing, right? The game master is basically giving you this ethereal and astral vision. He's creating and weaving this illusory terrain in front of you that you get to step into, but you're stepping into it with a mask when you're looking out through the eyes of your mask into what he is constructing and creating around you with the illusionary ideals of his mind. So he's building these worlds, these images, and you drink it into your mind. And when you can see it, when it runs like a movie in your head, when you are this other person, when you are this other entity, when you are there on the battlefield, you could smell the shit pouring out of the entrails that have been punctured by your bastard sword, with the blood and the scales and the stink of the musk of the lizard man as it bears down and you teeth out, busting you down, and you can feel your own back cracking. That's when you're there. That's when you're in the real spot. So you want to bring it in and make it as real as possible. You want to think in your mind. You want to get yourself into that idea, not sitting there rolling dice. So for mechanics, you want dice that interact as minimal as possible. One roll mechanics, I think, are amazing. That's why I had 2 8-siders. I went, and it's done. And we're right back, and we're reconstructing. We're keeping you in character as much as we can, so that you can be there on this stream of creativity, where you're being barraged with images, we're being barraged by impulses, right? So as a game master, you want to describe all senses, all 5 senses, all the time. I'm going to tell you about the bed bugs. I'm going to tell you about the cockroach. I'm going to tell you about the mosquitoes and flies bothering you. I'm going to tell you about the stink of your enemy. I'm going to tell you about the shit that's pouring out of him as you're cutting him, because combat should be hyper violent and horrifying. You should be scared when you're going to combat. You should feel that your character is in danger, because when a monster swinging an axe, a club, or claws at you and cutting you, let's get into it. Let's describe it. And when you kill them, take it home, take the glory, get on them, show them what you got, and that's, really the moment. I want to see the palace. I want to see the princess. I want to see the demon lord. I want to be afraid. I want to be triumphant. I want to be afraid, and I want to have losses, and I want to have wins, and I want them to mean something when I get them. And what I always tell people, the gold and the magic items aren't real, but the memories and the images are.
It's the highlight reel. That's why we play the game. Yeah, that's why we play the game. That's what you take home. Yeah.
You're not playing for gold. You're not playing for experience. You're not playing for that. You're playing for scenes. You're playing for these moments where people are high-fiving each other, remembering and talking about it 35 years later.
Exactly.
Trust me, I played with people, and they have talked about it that much later.
Oh, yeah.
I remember we did this in this fortress, and we did that, because they loved it, because they were there. That's why. And the people who can't get there, those are the people that just get flaked off the hobby. And sometimes it's not their fault. They don't have the people around them to keep them immersed.
Right.
And sometimes they don't have the imagination for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about, as a player and as the DM as well, 100%. Like, it is about trying to stay in the moment. And this is something that I think that a lot of people misunderstand when we're talking about role playing. Like, it really is it's not just like, oh, we're going to get in character and I'm going to put on a voice and portray
it's not acting.
Something. Yeah,
you're not saying your lines.
Yeah, you're not saying your lines. We're not doing this as a means to perform for the other people around us. It's
or
like
accommodating to story beats or dramatic. This is what, if this was a movie, I would have to say this.
Right. It's
but
not
no,
that.
I'm playing
it's
my
literally
character.
it's about putting yourself in that other person's shoes and trying to be present in the moment that character is in. And that takes a lot of spontaneity and it takes a lot of energy, which is like why my games generally don't go more than 3 or 4 hours, because by the end of it, I'm beat. Like my mind is taxed.
3 hours. I've never seen that. Fucking liar.
That's not true. We went for at least 4 in one of those sessions.
So you claim. Want to see the footage?
I think it's on. I think it's still on the channel. I will find it.
Yeah.
But it's it's taxing. By the end of that, it's like it's about maximizing your fucking imagination, And
Sure.
I understand that like some systems I have come to appreciate a little bit more some of the crunchier systems. Like we got let's see, where is he in here? Mr. Max, who's got a great channel.
Also a great channel.
Yeah, what's he say?
You, Ander, and everyone else who's
he's talking about women still. This was from way back in the conversation. He says playing RPGs is not having sex. If I can convince them to do one thing, it's going to be the latter.
I mean,
yeah, that's
fair.
good. That's the right thing. Yeah.
It really all depends on what type of RPGs you're playing.
Right, but Max has made a couple of good points about the preferring a crunchier system in a lot of cases, because there's a lot of times where if you have like and I would not say that Within the Ring of Fire is a rules light game. Like it has a very simple core mechanic, but there's a lot to it. I mean, you got tons of rituals and all sorts of stuff. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's rules light, but the idea of what he was saying a couple of streams ago about rules light games is that you start with a rules light game and then you end up wanting to do something that doesn't have mechanics that support it. And so you kind of have to make something up. And after you've played for a while, your rules light game eventually has turned into a crunchy system, because you've had to come up with a bunch of extra shit.
But this is how I would say, because I also, in certain respects, have a larger appreciation as well for a quote-unquote crunchier system.
Yeah.
A well-designed, crunchy system, in my view, is one that has a very simple core mechanic that you are generally, most of the time, as you said, Andrew, you're going to get in and you're going to get out. You're going to interface when you need to with the mechanics, with the die rolls, and you're going to get right back into the moment, into the description, into the imagination. A crunchy system, I think, should be one that is trying to simulate as accurately as possible without being overbearing an actual living, breathing world. And so you may have a rule for this thing over here or this thing over here. The page count may be more than a quote-unquote rules-light game, but the core mechanic is simple. It's not like you have to A, know all of the rules, and B, most importantly, you are not interfacing with the rules, with most of the rules, hardly any of the time. This is why a lot of like rules light or actual storytelling games, I think in practice are much crunchier. It takes you out, it keeps you at a distance from the imagination, because okay, I only have a page, or I have 5 pages, or whatever the case may be, of rules, but all the rules are limits and lenses through which I need to look at my character through, right? I have these moves. If we're talking about Apocalypse World, or we have these dramatic beats or dramatic mechanics, or that I'm going to push or I'm going to bring to bear in a given scene, and I need to be cognizant of them all the time. So you have a rules light system that becomes more that gives you more of an impediment to role play, as opposed to a larger, crunchier system that is much quicker, if that makes sense.
No, I think I understand what you're saying. I would personally consider Within the Ring of Fire to be on the light side of moderate rules. Because I mean, if you're talking about rules light, you get those like
upper, lower, middle class is what we're saying.
With like one piece of paper, back and front, and that's your game. And that's a really rules light game. But like you say, up until you actually want to do anything, in fantasy, what causes rules to be insanely heavier is magic. Magic is incredibly taxing on the rules. The other thing that makes things rules heavier is interacting with a grid map or any of these type of maps. You have to come up with enormous amounts of rules for that. I absolutely didn't want to do that because I think that keeping it here, if I can't keep it here, I'm not doing it. I'm not interested in sitting around a table and playing toys. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah,
that has no appeal to me. I'm not going to move my miniature around or explain it to me. I want to be right here thinking about feeling the battle. I'll get up and Nick can say we'll get up when we have enough room. We'll get up and start going at people. I'll grab a man. I don't care.
That's right.
Because you got to just get in there and sell, and don't worry about the who's. I was there. No, fuck all that. You're right where I say you are, and you just want to really be in there and feel that drama. And I think that the 5-foot hex, the grid, all that stuff really bolts so much more rules complexity onto a game, and it does almost nothing to help you. If you have an imagination, and if you have an idea that your game master isn't just antagonistic and adversarial to you, just get in there and trust it. Come out. You're going to get beat up a little bit, but we're gonna tell a story. We're gonna have fun. Just get on this train with me. So.
Right, a hex or a 5-foot square battle mat. It's a crunchy system that you are forced to interface with in a moment-to-moment time scale. I can't do anything without viewing it this way and getting down into the detail of navigating not the world but a mechanic. I need to navigate the mechanic before I can imagine what is actually happening. So
watch how players, they're hunched over, they're playing with the toys, they're there, they are the person looking at the toys, and they're moving the toys around. Oh, my toy's over here, my toy's over here. They're not here. They are not here. You can literally, by their body posture and their interactions or how they're explaining what they're going to do as they're moving their stuff around, you can see they are not at any real level of immersion. And if you think you are while you're doing that, I can assure you that you do not understand what we're talking about.
Well, they can be. This is I understand what they're saying, and I disagree with it completely. They may be immersed. They're immersed in the game. They're immersed in the board game aspect.
The game aspect,
and you can do that, but not at my table. This is not what I'm talking about. This is not what we're talking about.
You're not immersed in the role.
You're not immersed in the character.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like people can be quote unquote. I hate that people co-opt the word for this purpose, but. Okay, we're making our movie references and our jokes, and we're eating the Doritos and whatever. We're just having a good time. We're immersed as players, just hanging out. That's not what we're here to do. That's not what I'm here to
do. I'll close on somebody if I hear that.
Oh, they should be.
They'll be immersed. They'll be immersed to the floor in a minute.
Yeah.
All right. With that, I think we should get back to the chat. I mean, we're kind of
a lot of people.
Caught back up.
Direct us wherever you want, Matt.
Yeah. So Justin says, I don't have a problem with the self-insert if you're learning a system, but with the full understanding that character is going to get killed off as soon as possible.
I mean, fair enough. I think you're doing it with more steps than it needs to be. But fair enough.
Hey, Reziel.
Good to see you.
How's it going? Hope for the best says, this is so great just to hear Ander gush about the hobby. Yeah. Isn't it?
I thought I gushed about the hobby in every video I did. Okay, maybe not.
True.
Yeah, you just don't make videos very often anymore.
There's like a brand new one up on my channel.
Yeah, I've seen some recently.
I have put up almost 30 videos in 2023. So
I've watched most of them.
Yeah.
Right, well, you get that to all of them. Like, subscribe, ring the bell.
Got here late, no clue what the conversation's about. We're just talking about immersive role playing and Within the Ring of Fire, and that's about it.
Yep.
We are rambling.
Steve Fillmore.
Steve the Moon.
House. What's up, gents?
What's that moon? There's the moon, the glorious moon himself as well. Like yourself, the moon was a drama actor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Whole thing. Yeah, he has a degree in that. I don't know.
He also studied pretend at the university.
Enough butt sex, I think. Okay, well, I mean, I guess you could be a butt sex fairy. Yeah.
Sometimes they get us to read things that we probably shouldn't say on YouTube, and it's.
I don't care.
Yeah,
doesn't matter to me.
Lizard Musk breaks my immersion.
It definitely will not. Amazing.
Great stuff. 100% on the same page.
Right on.
Exactly.
Good. Glad we we're able to get into what you wanted there, Primeval Fantasy. I like that name, by the way. It's a cool
Yeah,
name.
it's good. His channel's really good. He really he's one of our tribe. This is a description of high-end storytelling. Yeah, that's definitely the goal. I'm not sure everyone is talented enough, but trying is respectable. Yeah, and that's the thing is that
trying is all that.
That's all you have to do. Like, because yeah, not everyone is as good as everyone else at everything. We all have different talents and different kind of aptitudes. But my thing is, when we're playing the game,
if we're all trying to get in the same place,
we all have to have the same goal at the table of like what we're doing with our game. And at our table, it is about being immersed in the character, in the world, and taking that seriously and playing your character with some sincerity. And that doesn't mean you have to be some voice actor or, theater kid or whatever.
Right.
It just means that you have to have a little earnestness, and you really do have to try.
Right.
And the more you try, the better you get. So that's, absolutely. It is not only respectable, it is a very laudable thing to do.
Yes.
It is fantastic. Well, let me just show you that right here. Right here. We can see. You understand what I'm talking about?
How to role play.
How to role play. Make a character, play the character, stay
in character.
Right.
Exactly.
Here's the other part of it. Show up, try, succeed.
Yeah.
If you have to be there, then you have to try. And if you are trying, you succeed. That is the definition. It doesn't come down to you have to be as good as Matt is at this game, as good as Matt is at role playing, because that's a lofty goal. But you should attempt to be as good at running a game as Matt. You should attempt to learn. You should attempt. That's what trying is. You're trying. Let me take this. I just failed colossally over here. Okay, brush that off.
Oh yeah.
Let me try this. What did I learn from it? What did I watch somebody else's mistakes? Let me learn from those. And you try. You get better. You get better. You learn more. And you have a cap. We all do. But try to get as close to your own cap as you can. Try to
and
as much as you can,
and try
show
to push
that love and
past
that
it.
passion. Yeah,
and try to push past it, because you get that cap can move.
Don't try to shame yourself. Like, oh, I'm not as good as you guys are, so I shouldn't try. That's the absolute wrong attitude.
No. Completely.
Absolute opposite of what we're trying to tell you.
Right.
Because there are people that are like the ivory tower elites, and I've had people, from time to time get mad at me because I'm preaching a type of role playing. Oh, you're ivory tower, but I'm not, and I'll tell you why. Because the whole reason I do all of this is because I want other people to have an easier road to get better, because I think this hobby is for just about anybody that wants to do it. I want to see you do well, and I want to see you have more fun, because ultimately here's the deal. This is the real deal. The way we're doing this for almost everyone that's trying to do this is going to produce more fun in that hour. It's not your fun is wrong. It's you are literally having less fun than you could, and we want you to have more fun. That's the bottom line. That's the real deal.
That's exactly what we're always saying, is that you can take you can even use these very crunchy systems and everything like that. But if you layer on top of that, whatever you're doing, that you're going to try to actually role play and be in the moment, that will bring your game experience up to another level. There is no substitute for it. And it's always awesome to do that. So we got Max here chiming in on some mechanics. He says you can have crunch if the system is logical and homogenized. Excuse me. I was about to say
I definitely agree with logical. I'm not sure what you mean, Max, by homogenized.
I think having like a core. Well, let's see what his follow-up question is. 28 millimeter. How's it going, man? Good to see you. He says, reuse your subsystems. It's better to reuse the same systems than have a perfectly designed system for every circumstance. Yeah. So don't have
I would agree. Yes.
Swimming is its own complete.
It's a whole different die. It's a whole different die mechanic.
Yeah. And then we have this entirely different way of doing things.
We have 17 different games.
Yeah. For driving.
We definitely see that a lot in old D&D. How to make a thief check, roll percentile dice. It's like, well, I just rolled a D20.
Yeah.
No, hell no.
And some people like that. Like I know Basic Expert likes rolling percentile dice for his thieves, and feels that you kind of lose the feel of the game when you get everything on a D20. And I don't like the D20, but I do like having a kind of a single core mechanic, because again, it is exactly what you're saying. Is it like you're in and you're out of using the mechanics, and we're keeping it up here the entire time.
Yeah.
And I do have to say that my favorite mechanic for core mechanic for role playing games is the 2d8 with the exploding eights. It's super fun. It means your characters, your roles, you're generally going to be sort of competent. You do have a chance of failure, but you also have the chance of extreme success, with the exploding eights. And I love that because it really can take things pretty far and make things much, much more dramatic very quickly. It's awesome. And the thing is, the enemies can do that to you too. So it's not like you're safe from getting boosted on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. I definitely put quite a bit of work into that. When I had to just rip the whole D20 mechanic out of the game, I went, it also let me have a really, 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 really cool logo that we came up with. For those of you who want, let me just tell you guys what the raw immersive games logo is.
The two pyramids.
It's two 8-sided dice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one is in the material in the real world, right? It's the interaction, it's the game part of it, and the other part is the role playing, is the ethereal, is the illusion, and that's why there's a reflection of the pyramid inside of the water, and pyramids itself evoke mystery, evoke evocatism. So it's two 8-sided dice, but one is half of it is above. And half of it is below on each one of them. So you are sinking from the material from our world into another world, and you're interacting with a dice mechanic to promote this mental bridge into another world. So that was kind of the idea I had. And again, I explained it to Alex, and he came right up with that.
Yeah,
so.
That's something. On that note, there's also you did something in this game that I usually loathe, which is to change the terminology for game master, non-player character, player character, all that. But I actually love it in this game because we have the flame tender is the term for game master, a dungeon master. We have catalysts, embers. Yeah, and it's all about basically like every aspect of the game is oriented toward this primordial storytelling, this primordial and I don't think if anyone's watching this that's not like our core audience, if you're in like the old school D&D areas, if you say the word story, these people like spurg out autistically because they're like, these games they're not storytelling. You all know what we mean.
Yeah.
You all know what
everybody knows what we mean.
You all know what we mean. But it's focused on this like this primordial kind of storytelling aspect, and it just works. It sets the tone.
It wouldn't have worked if the tone was not there like so strongly.
Yeah, and it's something that I think helps orient anyone who picks up the book. They will be oriented toward playing this game the way it's meant to be played, which is the immersive style. And so it's I really liked that.
Well, I appreciate that, but I strongly was going to do that because, quite frankly, I think my game deserved that. I think it deserved its own nomenclature to bring even into what we're doing. This wasn't some jabroni trash pile. This was a work of love, and it needed to have it's in a character sheet.
Yeah,
it's a mask. So these things they're not just a fancy name. There's a reason for it. You are the catalyst, right? Yeah. That's what your player is. He's a catalyst, not a player character, because he is creating the explosion of creativity.
Right.
That's what we're meant to do. A flame tender is stroking the fires of imagination because I wanted to give an idea of this campfire story that's being told from the elder to the young people with the woods and the caves and the gods that lurk on the mountains and the thunder and the spirits are everywhere, and we're trying to make sense of it. We're trying to be in this illusion. So I thought all that was helpful to the evocative nature of that. So I think that's really important. And when I see games not having that, I kind of almost feel like their author doesn't really at the core have faith in what they've put together. We're just a game master. We're generic. We're just.
Well, I think most people don't have the desire. They don't have the imagination, even to view their own products as anything more than this is a supplement or this is a D&D compatible product. Like that's it, or a whatever compatible product, you know. Yeah, I mean, the lack of imagination goes not only to players, GMs, but to game creators as well. That's why most stuff we see is absolute garbage.
It is, particularly when you get into that new school kind of wave of products that come out. Like, so very little of it is any good at all, which is so upsetting because, I mean, it's creativity, right? And when you're
Right.
creating products to stimulate other people's creativity and they themselves are not creative, what the fuck are you doing? You're robbing someone, you piece of shit.
Right, but that's also I think the goal is different because a lot of times people are like, I am making a game, whereas what you just said is you're creating a product to help stimulate someone's imagination. And those aren't the same thing, you know.
No.
Like this is a game for sure, but it's not, you know, it's not sitting down focused to play a game in the sense that you're moving pieces around a board and you have these rules and all of this stuff. It's just completely different focus, and that's one of the reasons why I think that this game really stands out from like everything, is because it has that passion and it is very much designed to get your imagination going. Right. The entire
it's
thing
unapologetically what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Which there needs to be more of, generally speaking, in the world right now, but especially in any kind of creative enterprise, and especially in the RPG hobby, because so much is lukewarm. So much is this sort of thin gruel where everything is the way that it kind of always has been, and that's just the way that it has to be. Or you have the predominance of a gameplay focus, appreciation, which is fine if you want to do that, but it's not the same activity.
Yeah, it's a different activity.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, like we said, getting the most volume of fun you can out of your time. I mean, that's the whole deal right there.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is we even, I think, have a different definition of what constitutes fun, though. Because
for sure.
It's not like amusement, you know. It's not simply amusement.
Right.
No, not at all.
No, it's like the fun is that we had this incredible experience.
Right.
You know,
but a lot of people just don't have fun doing that because that's not what they're here for.
Well, yeah, and I think
that's why there's
we've talked about this before in our previous episodes, is that we think some of that has to be just a fear of being a little bit sincere and like feeling foolish doing these things, you know. Like,
I'll play with people that are like that. Like, I'm actually very, as Nick can attest to, in real life, we don't have anyone that's particularly introverted in our group. I'm very, very good. I'm kind of like a son to introverted people. I'll tend to look, and I've been in spaces like very young. They'll just be sort of floating around in my gravitational orbit because I talk so much and I'm so gregarious. I'm so outgoing that I have had probably at least 100 different very introverted people say that I am probably the person that made them the most relaxed and just obliterated the sort of social awkwardness, because I can stand here and have a 4-hour conversation with the wall without missing a beat.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna fucking have a good talk. So
that's like I went back through our first session of Hell and Back, that game that we played within the Ring of Fire, and I was trying to add like timestamps to it, you know, for like relevant things of like, okay, this is when Bryce got arrested, this is when they're all in the cart together, this is when they arrive at the prison. And I got to a point where I realized, I was like, I've been watching this for 50 minutes and they've all just been talking in character the whole time. Like, I was like, there's nothing else going on. It's just everybody's so in it that they're all like, you're all sitting there like trading your fucking like life philosophies and thinking about what you're thinking about, you know, chomping down on the human maybe, or the Freyine. And all this stuff. It was so it was really funny because there's been times where I was like, maybe we went a little too far with that. But then I remember, though, is that like we're not putting on a show for people when we're doing that. The show is for us. It's for the people at the table. And when we were in it and doing that, it was awesome. And like I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. You know, it was great.
I think if people go and watch that, they're going to love it. That's the thing. You're going to get more traffic to it. They're going to love that because that's what's missing. Anybody can put together one of these Matt Mercer style gimmicks, right? Where they're just or Viva La Dirt League does one like that too. Most of their videos
Mhm.
are good. I like Viva La Dirt League, but not their D&D stuff because it's not D&D. It's not role playing. It's
Yeah.
a carefully contrived group of acting scenes put together, and they
Right.
go, "Well, why does your game look like that?" Well, that's because that's not role playing.
That's not what the
why it doesn't look
activity
like
is.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Here,
Right.
hand me a script and hand me props and
Yeah.
give me a makeup artist, and we can definitely do this. But
Yeah.
this
It's not the
and
same
that
thing.
aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
You're looking at acting, attempting to pretend to be a role playing game.
Mhm.
As
Yeah.
opposed to other. Anyway, let me. I was going to say too. I don't want to interrupt you. Because I want
go
to
for it.
not do it once tonight. So that was your one.
Yeah.
And fun. Let me explain what I mean by fun because
Yeah.
that was a great. Our fun is different than other people's fun. And here's what I mean. So let me define what I mean by fun in the context of a role playing game. The continuous chasing of that moment which makes the illusion real and running as fast as you can, as hard as you can, believing as much as you can, and maybe just maybe you get there for a second.
Yeah.
You are that person. You are, on the border of having a schizophrenic, right? Where you're just kind of seeing out through those eyes, where you're really imagining it, and you're seeing those images as clear as you can from the game master, and you're lost in that illusion, and you're absorbing that beauty. That's really what I mean by fun. That's what I play for, and for nothing else. I want to feel like my character. I want to experience this. I'm
Yeah.
not interested in the rest of it. And for anyone like really kind of getting that mantra idea, the gold isn't real, the gems aren't real, the magic items aren't real, none of that's real. The scenes are real, the experiences are real. That's real. So play
Yeah.
for that
It's the
because
moment of
modern
getting
role playing games
chills.
Yeah.
they teach you to play for the wrong fucking thing, and that will minimize everyone's fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's
There you
catch up with the chat here again.
Yeah, catch up with the chat.
28mm says, why I like Cypher. Easy, quick
I played
resolution
Cypher
with
before.
D20,
Yeah.
no damage rolls, and all the crunches in character creation and upgrading.
I
All
like the
right.
Cypher system.
Yeah, I liked it. It was fun.
Which one is the Cypher system? I've never.
Numenera.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
Numenera.
Right.
Everything is a D20.
Monty Cook.
Yeah.
Cook.
Yeah.
Mm.
Didn't he do a World of Darkness? Like it was like some weird parallel.
He did.
Monty Cook's World of Darkness. It happened like right directly after the Time of Judgment
I never
series
looked
and
at it,
before New World
It was
of
a
Darkness.
D20 World
Yeah.
of Darkness.
But it was like some weird post-apocalyptic thing. Like it was not World of Darkness at all. It
Oh,
was super weird.
I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, I think we missed Reziel's
Hold on.
exit, but if you're
Oh,
still
yeah.
here,
And we got, I just see,
oh shit, we got a
Quack
super
is-
chat.
yeah,
Here we
he's
go.
on the way out as well.
All right, Bud Quack, you have a great night, man. Hope you catch the
Glory
rest of the
be
stream.
to Mool.
Absolutely.
Now, for anyone that doesn't know, you can go on Sam Punt's channel and type in the tongue of Mool. There is actually a real song out there by a real band,
Yes.
with permission from me, which is great to be used in your game. Let the children know. It's great stuff. I love it. I love Sam for that. He was one of the people that started working with Ring of Fire, and he is in a band, and he put a song together years ago about that. So you can hear an actual song you can use in your game, real within a Ring of Fire song,
Yeah.
in the tongue of Mool.
Nice.
Oh, that is one more thing that something that, oh my God, I can't believe I actually have forgotten. I was gonna say I'll never do my games without this, and I'm not doing it right now. I can't believe I forgot to do this. But the greatest thing ever is you got to give when you make your character, you got to get them a theme song.
That's right.
You got to have a
Absolutely.
theme song. Your character has to have a theme song, and when you do something badass, the GM hits play on Spotify on that song, and your theme music starts playing.
Yep.
It pumps everyone up so much. It's so fun, and I cannot believe that I haven't been doing that in my retro game. Oh my God, how did I overlook that?
Ask Nick how many times we'll blasted some meatloaf in my current game.
Right.
This like a batter to hell.
That's right.
I love meatloaf. So within Ring of Fire, that's a good time to bring that up. So theme music. So when you're writing a game, here's what you got to do. Here's what you really got to do. So this is a great secret for writing a game or writing a book, writing anything. Take everything that you love and just pour it in there like it's a blender and spin it around and see what the fuck comes out. So that's what this was. So when I'm writing within the Ring of Fire, I love mythology. I love all of it.
Yeah,
Syrian, Babylonian,
very
Norse,
clearly.
Egyptian, Irish, Eastern European, Russian, Native American, African. I love mythology. So my son was really, really young at the time, and I'm reading book after book after book after book. And he got to the point when he was not even 2 years old, and Nick knows my son pretty well, that he could sit there for up to 3 hours at a time being read to, and not little children's books, like being read tons of mythology, being read all about monsters. So I dumped all that into my brain. Then I went and I dumped, of course, professional wrestling. I went and I dumped heavy metal. So that's really what Within the Ring of Fire is, right? It's this dark, immersive tale of all the badassness of heavy metal, all the badassness of professional wrestling, all the badassness of mythology, and it's just cranked up and it's real. Like in real mythology, not the sanitized shit. Horrifying things happen.
Yeah.
Horrifying things happen. The story of the Gorgons, Medusa is a virginal priest of Athena. Poseidon and Athena have a rivalry. Poseidon comes and he rapes Medusa out. He just beats the cheeks right there in the fucking vestibule of the church. He don't give a fuck. He beats the cheeks and leaves the virgin laying broken. He leaves and says, Athena. Athena comes and says, how dare you not be a virgin anymore?
Right.
And she casts her out, and now she curses her.
Yeah.
That's fucking mythology.
Yeah.
That's dark as fuck.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Your goddess condemns you after she let you get raped in her church by another god you tried to stand up to.
Yeah. It's awesome. And
Horrifying.
the thing that I love about the Greek
That's what
curses,
I brought out.
the thing that I love about the Greek curses is that they can't be undone. They can be tweaked. Like another god could tweak the curse a little bit later down the line, but it's like you can never get rid of it. It's so awesome, and that is the mythology of this world of Kvegathale of your world is so strong and so in your face. It does have that that pro wrestling metal, but also with the it is a mythology that takes itself very seriously and is so cool. Like there's so many ideas. Like that was every time I've run a session for Within the Ring of Fire, I'm picking up 77 Thrones.
Oh yeah,
and just reading stuff. And that book is you can't read it and not get ideas for games to run. Like it's such a good resource.
Or very, very little, at almost nothing, apart from the straight mechanics in 77 Thrones, nothing is written in the abstract. And I think that that is key.
And these gods are characters, they're
gods are characters. They are not just archetypes, and they're not
divinities. Excuse me. I didn't say I didn't.
But it's not.
I apologize for saying gods.
Right. Well, some of them are gods.
Yeah.
But it's not. They're occupying messy roles. There isn't. It's not another suite of deities in another generic fantasy game where you have the god of war, who is exactly what you'd expect, and the same god of justice. What does he look like? He looks like a knight in shining armor, and that's sort of all that he does. And you have the god of healing, like your core 10, 15, 20 deities that are in the same staid and played out roles. And they look, they feel, they are exactly like you've seen them 100 different other times. You have, as mythology dictates, deities that have a combination of positive and negative, at least from a mortal's perspective, positive and negative traits. A lot of them don't exactly fit onto, this is the god of healing in this world, and he looks and acts exactly how you've seen before. No, you have Laku, who has the typically positive aspects of sort of healing and light and these things, but there's a twist to it. You have a multitude of gods who have a number of different violent qualities. They're very different. There's nothing in all these deities, as you said, they are characters. They feel like player characters who, by the might of their persona and by the power of their deeds, have sort of, achieved something truly supernatural. That's not the case in the lore of the world, but because there's such a strong connection, they're so believable, their personality is so vivid and so in your face, it's like, okay, I get what the dogma is of this deity is. Even if I don't know the straight, blah blah blah, the strictures as such, I feel it. I know it because I'm reading about a person and I get that personality right in my face. Okay, I know exactly how I view the world. I know exactly what I believe. I know exactly what I like and what I don't like, what I will and won't tolerate, and what my place is in this very chaotic, very dark cosmos.
When I sit down, I took a lot from Forgotten Realms in as what not to do, and
How
in
so?
Forgotten Realms, when you read the books, to me, it seems like you have a large group of gods that have never met each other before. Now there are some exceptions to that, but they seem like we've existed forever and we don't know each other.
Right.
What? Like there's no mythology. There's this interwoven tapestry because Poseidon has a relationship to Zeus. He has a relationship to Athena. He has a relationship to Aphrodite. What about Ares and Hephaestus? What about Hera and Dionysus? Right? You have all these interlocking relationships. What about Helios to Zeus? What about these ancient things that have happened with Titanomachia, or we're looking at Echidna or Typhon, and all these just wonderful stories that come together. That's a history. These are things that have happened. So these divinities, they're all aware of each other, and they have different feelings and thoughts. Some they're not as interested in, others they are interested in, and you can take that. And when I wrote everything, all I try to do is write plot it.
Yeah.
So it's just all written that way. So it's when I read an RPG book, what I want is an idea. I'm like, I don't have an idea. What do I? Oh, a stone giant could. Okay, that's what we got. So I love reading books on gods, and I love reading books on monsters, and that generally helps to spark ideas. I've never really found Dungeon Master's Guides to be useful at all. I don't think I've read even the second edition one. I guarantee you there's a huge portion of it I've never even read.
That book, the second edition DMG, is a piece of shit. It doesn't have any useful advice. It's basically a fucking magical item reference. That's it.
It's not great.
I loathe that book. I loathe that book.
I'm not a big fan, and again, that's really where I come up with.
I will say I did get another copy of the first edition DMG. That is that's the one that's actually written by Gygax, and that is a lot more interesting than anything else. That's a much more interesting read because there's a lot of like wisdom and philosophy throughout it. That's really cool. But it's that second edition one is just, I loathe that book.
I think the first edition DMG is probably the best example of high Gygaxian. Like he goes nuts in that book. It's significantly more so than in the Player's Handbook.
Yeah,
I found he was unfathomably mentally disorganized though. So if
I know that book is so all over the place.
Yeah, well, like look at the character clash. They're not written the same. Like even when they tell you what stats you need, you're like, well, why can't you write this the same? Like even does that need to be confusing? There was so many confusing things. He was clearly a smart guy, but he in some way seemed to fundamentally lack certain communication skills. And I always heard that from people that met him. Like there were certain communication issues that he wasn't fucking wonderful at.
Yeah.
But
so
he certainly did some good stuff.
Yeah. 28mm has a question here, which I think is kind of specific. One thing I'm having issues with as a GM is how do I become the unreliable narrator? So with his players, I think what he's referring to basically is like when like you have a book or a movie and it's unclear, like whoever's narrating that story doesn't have everything right. It's like Patrick Bateman in American Psycho is an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
You're never sure what's real and what's not. So he's trying to emulate that in his game as the game master, I'm assuming with his non-player characters. And do you have any tips for that?
And what might be an issue, I don't know if this is the case. This happens a lot in well-established campaign settings where it's like, oh, okay, I know the big secret about the world. Oh, it's actually Cyric who's doing that. Oh, yeah. I know. Gehenna is in this year, and that the the Prince of New York. This is what's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I know that the fucking antediluvian is just a giant monstrous flesh pile underneath New York City. So yeah.
The
like, how do you?
From what you guys are saying, though, I will tell you, players get furious if you don't give them everything, and they get really mad if you do. So it's a really, really weird spot to be in as a game designer. I always like the fact that for Vampire, like, they didn't tell you everything. Like, they don't tell you this, that, they don't tell you anything about Kane. They don't tell you anything about the Encounter, really.
Yeah.
They leave those things out, and they don't know. There's no answer to them.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be you as the game master insert whatever you want. Don't go, oh, well, there's no answer, so I can't do it. No. That's what you're supposed to leave parts blank.
Yeah, exactly.
Within the Ring of Fire.
You want a structure that's in place that people can move around in and use and expand. You don't want to give them, like a fucking like animal pen that they're stuck in.
Right.
So when I'm writing this stuff, the amount that I know versus what's in the book is not remotely the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's not in here doesn't mean it's not incredibly well thought out or detailed or even written down somewhere. I got this idea talking with my buddy Sam Y7, Tim Harper, an amazing human being.
Oh yeah,
I love him. I love the guy. And he said, what I really like most about a game is to have it kind of established and then to have the huge spots where I can put my game that the game designer hasn't said, this is this, right? So, and that can be in anything, right? That's inside of a different species or inside of a divinity, or that's inside of an area that's not geographically nailed down incredibly so that's open up. So I tried to keep that in mind and not overly populate everything. And not to give you what is official. And, to me as the game designer, I've always thought it was weird because the second you purchase this and it becomes yours, it is your game. It is not my game. It is not what I think. It is not the way I want it to be. If you want to kill any of these things or say they never existed or change them or whatever else you want, you're supposed to. That's you. Do whatever you want. All these are you have purchased ideas from me. Use them however you want. Use them well. Use them poorly. Use them to create something that you think is a product you can put at your table.
Use them on a hex map.
No, don't do that. That's a promise to you. I'll come and get you, like the fucking Grither. So let's see. How do we become the unreliable
times in the mirror, and he will appear.
Yeah.
There was a show in the 80s. Nick might remember this. Maybe you won't, Matt. It was called Monsters, and it had that like this kind of weird 80s synth wave horror kind of music. You remember that one, Nick? Monsters?
I don't. I've seen on YouTube the opening. I've heard of it.
Absolutely horrendous show. Horrendous. No one watched it. It was fucking horrible. You could watch the opening. That was kind of fun and campy, but they had one episode. And maybe it was an episode from Tales of the Dark Side, but I'm going to say it was from Monsters because they had a billion of these anthology shows in the 80s. And they had one called The Grither. And The Grither is like the whole thing, they're describing it, and it can hear. If you say the word Grither, it comes and gets you. And they're building up the grandparents and the kid and whoever. They're building up the entire thing. And like the whole show was just like, it was boring. Like there's not anything happening the entire 30-minute episode. Nothing happens until like the last 7 seconds of the show. The Grither's arm busts through and just murder everyone right away, and it's this whole thing. So basically, if you do that with my game, I'm going to hear you and come get you. That's the moral of that story. So let's see. Unreliable narrator. So what I'm guessing you mean is making sure that they don't really know what's going on, right? That's is that what we're going with? Is that consensus?
I'm assuming that's the case, or maybe.
Let's see. Buttquack has some good advice here, I think.
Okay.
Oh, come on. The fucking comments aren't working now. There we go.
You got it.
My advice on unreliable narrator is focus almost entirely on the catalyst's perceptions, being your character's perceptions and opinions. Let them know what they would know. If they see an illusory door, don't ask for a perception roll. That.
Oh, okay. In that regard, like adventuring stuff, maybe.
And like and hello to our good friend Crispy here.
Oh, Crispy.
Yeah, great guy. Everybody
amazing guy, channel. Amazing channel.
Another interesting guest that I wish I had found years ago. Well, you can find his YouTube channel. It is Woodwad. No.
I'm gonna come get you. What did I just say about the Grither? Texas ain't that far away, baby. We're both in the south.
Wood WWAD is his YouTube channel.
I have over 700 videos on RPGs on my channel.
Yeah. And 1 or 2 of them are pretty good. No, I'm just kidding.
That's high praise. I would have said maybe 1 was okay. The ramblings of a marauder.
Justin says, "Lol, I'm already better at role playing than Matt because I'm not a ginger."
All right, so real talk, we don't discredit gingers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So as a gingerphiliac, I take great umbrage with that.
So Onion Kid here is quoting David Lynch from one of our YouTube shorts, talking about using minis to play the game. And
one of the best dungeon masters that ever
lived is David Lynch.
Oh, yeah, fucking minis.
Yeah,
I love
but it's another one of our friends, RPG is Dumb, has said previously something that is correct, I think, in my opinion, which is if you're playing with minis, you will remember minis.
Right.
That's what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember the imaginative, the cool thing going on in your head.
Right. That's a great comment. Yeah, I think that's largely right. Yeah.
Ginger power. Hashtag ginger power. But I have a sneaking suspicion that Matt might be a daywalker, not a true ginger. Exploding Eights, goat, greatest of all time tier. Yep. Bacchus tier.
Bacchus tier.
The only true gingers are female. Orpheus tier.
You stay away from those ginger females.
No female gingers are all daywalkers that appropriate our culture to attract men.
Well, they should. Wrong with the bottle.
I have really good players right now, except for the unfortunate fact that they don't like soliloquies for some reason. Since I don't force soliloquies, they just don't really happen in that game. So this is actually a good set. I can't believe we haven't talked about this too. You have within the Ring of Fire, one of the mechanics, so to speak, is the soliloquy, which is basically where the lights kind of dim and there's a spotlight on one character and you get their internal monologue for a little bit. It's kind of like a pause in time for them. And a lot of times we were doing these at the ends of sessions and as kind of like wrap up and kind of reflection on what happened. But there's also times where it just kind of comes up. Someone has a moment of inspiration in the game and they give a soliloquy. It is a lot of fun. I get why I don't think it's probably for everyone. I think if you're playing within the Ring of Fire, you have to do it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not for everyone in every game. But that's sad, man. I'm sorry they're not doing it. And I'm especially sad if you're running within the Ring of Fire and they're not doing soliloquies. Don't give them any fucking experience points.
Definitely not. So here's the thing. Here's how I come up with it. Right, I had a friend. He ran a lot of games I played in. His name is Travis Lacello, and unfortunately, I found out he just died like in August. I found out just a couple days ago.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen him in years. He ended up with a heroin problem, and I think he died of a heart attack. He was like 4 years older than me. But we played lots of games. He had like 2 different games that lasted for about 4 years each. I played with him from like 16 to 24, and then a little bit later. But I hadn't seen the guy in like a decade. But I was playing with him, and it was a great game, but it occurred to me that he had no idea what my character was thinking. None. Because of this, when I play in here, so there's all this stuff happening in my head. I'm thinking, I'm doing all this stuff. So I came up with the idea. I said, well, how do I tell them? And I thought about that. I come up with the idea of soliloquy, which, as far as I can tell, has never, ever appeared in any role-playing game before. That's the first place you'll see it in a game. And you take that and you put the theme music, and you just draw the, everything stops. And we hear the character's thoughts. We see what they do, and it allows the more quiet player to be put in the spotlight and to interact, and it allows the characters have their own time, their own spotlight, and we get to see their feelings. And also, as a game master, as I'm listening, I might be able to pick up something. I'm like, oh, we can do this with you. You're giving me some plot ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see, what does this one say? This is this. I want to. Yeah, we definitely let's talk about this.
Do y'all think the Satanic
Panic? I'm going to read this one.
You're going to read it? All right, fine.
I'll read it. Yeah. Do y'all think the Satanic Panic was primarily cause that broke the tabletop RPG hobby? making many of the games watered down. Maybe the Angelicals gave room for the modern SJWs to flourish. So yeah, so definitely we see currently there's a leftist ideological attack on the RPG hobby. You will think like we want you to think. In the 80s, we had a right wing attack on our hobby. You will think how we want. You will not have devils. You will have Batazu. You will not have demons. You will have tannery. You will not have half orcs because they're from rape. You won't have any of these things. You won't have assassins because we're not going to play this game. But you should do what we want you to do. And of course, we see that now. I think that's a great comparison because the evangelicals were simply social justice warriors of a different stripe, of a different political hue, and they're pieces of trash. And so much as anyone who's trying to force their opinion on everyone else, do what you want to do. You see what I'm saying? Bring what you want to bring in your game. You see what I'm talking about? So let's see. Is it the primary cause? Well, I don't think it did break the hobby. I think the hobby did pretty fucking well around second edition time. I mean, that's a lot of people were playing. It's not at the height I think it is now, but I think like Nick kind of termed, I don't know if you came up with this, Nick, but I thought it was very clever when you said the RPG tourist. We see a lot of those people who are probably in it and out of it in the hobby right now, buying books. But TSR, under Gygax's vision was, you will not buy the monster manual. These are forbidden secrets to you. Now they're like, you're a player. You better get your wolf here. So buy our monster manual because that makes us money, you fucking idiot. So I don't think that I don't think this, as we look back in retrospect, I don't think the Satanic Panic did that much damage to it. And as someone who liked heavy metal was hit with a Satanic Panic too. So I like D&D and I like heavy metal, and I think that just kind of painted people with a sort of nerdy brush and also a kind of counterculture, that guy's weird or that guy's dangerous type of thing. But I don't think it was that deep of a stain, and I don't think it really did all that much damage. I think we're looking back at wanting to be persecuted a little too much, and I don't think it was that big of a deal.
I would say the Satanic Panic is just a symptom of what is the long march of so many other things, which have sort of collapsed in on themselves, RPGs among them. Tabletop gaming and heavy metal and, that whole suite of kind of like outsider activities or outsider interests were already growing in popularity. It was the fact that they were growing in popularity already. It's just a symptom that something that was on the outside was becoming more mainstream or was becoming more recognized in the culture. And that is what is diluting the hobby, I would say.
Yeah. The fun of RPGs is getting together with friends and experiencing the peaks and valleys of drama and mystery.
Correct.
I think that is correct.
That's a good statement.
Heath says, I don't know of any other RPG that has theme songs and soliloquies. Yeah, literally zero, I think.
And to loop back real quick on the question, the players who aren't are sort of resistant to soliloquies. I would say try not to get, if your players are not feeling soliloquies, don't push it every session. Wait until there's a really dramatic or pivotal moment for the character or in general, and then okay, now we're going to do this. And hopefully in that moment when it really comes together, they'll get it, or they'll get closer to getting it.
It's also, when someone dies, that's the perfect time.
Oh yeah.
Lou, we got the Flame Tender
look at
Lou
that.
here. The guy who's probably run the most within the Ring of Fire games. In person
a lot.
Online. Yeah, he's
run a lot.
Yeah.
Lou is very knowledgeable. What's up, Lou? How you doing, baby?
Have you all checked out Dolmenwood? I've
heard of it.
Dolmenwood. Dolmenwood, I think it's
Dolmenwood. It's the official campaign setting for something.
I think it's for Old School Essentials, right?
I don't remember. I think it is. I think you told me
it was going to be Old School Essentials, but now I think it is like its own game or something.
Okay,
it's its own whole thing.
I don't know. I've heard of it. I haven't looked at it.
Yeah. So Yeah, so book on GMing, I thought Arbiter of Worlds by Macrease was well done. I
Yeah,
have that book and I started reading it, and yeah, it's pretty good. Macrease is a really smart guy.
I
I'm
like his channel.
I
I've
like his
been
channel a lot. I'm really looking forward to Acts 2. It sounds awesome.
Yeah,
But
I really want to pick up his superhero game. I actually saw the other day. I don't think it was I saw it the other day. I don't remember when he had him on his show, but Max had him on
oh yeah, he
his
taught yeah.
live stream, and it was a really good show. They spent a lot of time some time talking about Ascendant, which is the name of that superhero game,
Yeah.
and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm really interested. I will absolutely be backing Acts 2, and
yeah,
once I get over there, I'm going to be picking up Ascendant as well.
Yeah. So Anders, if you're not familiar with X, it's Adventurer Conqueror King system.
Yeah.
So it's basically sort of like if AD&D had been refined for 40 years, I think is how someone described it, where basically like you have a system that supports like low level adventuring, you're delving into dungeons and doing all that stuff all the way up through like the highest levels of, your character has created empires and things like this. It's
Yeah.
very, very cool. And it sounds very mechanically rigorous.
Right.
And I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, he's going to kickstart
I'll
a
send you
second
some stuff
edition.
about it. Yeah, the second edition's coming out. It sounds really, really interesting.
I think this month, right? Later this month, I think.
I think October 24th, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
But the books won't be done for a long time because it's raising money, I think, for
the layout
everything
and
from
for
layout, art,
yeah,
like everything. But I will 100% be backing the 3 core books. So this, I think, is going back to the
unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm. Max says, and by the way, so we just said Mr. Max had Macrease on his show. Mr. Max is a very, very good interviewer. So
yeah,
he gets good game designers to come and talk on his channel and asks very good questions. Great channel all around. We are big fans of Mr. Max.
Absolutely.
So he says it's a matter of epistemology, what your characters know about the world. They know because they lived in that world, not because the GM told the player. Yeah, 100%. Yes.
You don't know what you read in the book. If you read the book, you don't know the CR of the monster.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Trash metagaming, I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Max is also a ginger, so he's got that going for him too.
Well, look at you.
On the topic of soliloquies, reward what you want to see in a game. In my Savage Worlds game, Dark Sun, soliloquy gets you bennies. Yeah.
Yeah. For Savage Worlds. Yeah.
Why don't you run that game online then, Trevor? I've been trying to get him to run something for years. I really want to see how his mind works as a game master.
I've been having trouble getting the last book I ordered delivered. The truck keeps going out, but it just can't get into my driveway. That sucks. Macrease is a very cool guy. I'll have him again on soonish. Nice.
Yeah. I like how he
talk to him at some point.
I would like to as well.
Yeah.
I like how he talks about how he thinks.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Well, I like his ideas about simulationism as well. Like the idea.
Yeah, I've said for years I'm far more. I think the GNS theory is sort of
gay.
not particularly helpful and kind of gay. But if I had to put myself, I would heavily put myself into that camp.
Yeah, it's I like the idea of simulating an actual world.
I mean, it's not interesting to me if the world doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the world has to make sense.
Because like we are all talking about immersion, right? We're immersing in a character. If I want to immerse myself in a character, my character has to understand a world that makes sense. Otherwise, I can't do that.
I can't plan or make choices about the future if
right, because
doesn't make sense.
Any sane person lives in a world that at least has, fundamental rules.
Yes, and some sort of coherence to it. Yeah,
yes, correct.
We got a hand wave from Dice Tales. Nice to see you, man.
Yes.
Well, I got about 10 minutes before I got to log off. So
yeah.
Hold on, I got it. Then I got to take this one because I got a question. Well, I need answered. because I got a bone to
yeah,
pick.
yeah.
Listen,
I'll rip your bones out and pick you with them.
So one of the things, the big thing that really was like a long-term mystery for me, and like, when is he going to answer it? When are we going to get some information about this in Within the Ring of Fire? I'm really curious what your conceptualization and idea was for magic, and in particular the trolls. How really
the immortal
were
trolls,
the 44 trolls, because they're still a big mystery, and they're such a fundamental, foundational part of the cosmos of that world. Like, that's a really big piece, especially if I'm playing a Magi or a Holdre. That's a big gap that I have, and it's something that I still wish for more in that. So I'm really curious what your intention was for the trolls, and how you saw most people in the world sort of interfacing with them, either as a memory or as a culture or as a thing to be worshipped.
Or spat on, depending on.
I'm going to try to give a quick answer to this. So first of all, it would depend on what your interface was. For example, a malignant Magi is going to have a very, very poor interaction with the trolls. Now, something that always bothered me in D&D is wizards and priests are bizarrely dissimilar, and for some reason wizards are almost scientists, which makes no sense and has no analog at all to what an actual wizard is, because in the real world, wizards are priests. They are literally the same thing. They're just not the priest of your god. So I wanted to make sure that we had this idea of magic and mysticism being two different things, because they're out of two different well streams. But at the same point, the Magi is a priest. He is the sacred bearer of a different wisdom, of a different philosophy, of different divinities, those being his troll predecessors. And then at the same point, we have that sickening corrupt magic of individuals who are prying these secrets back and becoming antithetical to what they should have been, to steal their heritage, to culturally appropriate their secrets, and then to use them for their own gains. So I thought that created a juxtaposition inside of Magi of having these two different forces, not to say good and evil, but purity and corruption. Of course, the purity itself could be looked at as extremely corrupt as well, from those standpoints of the followers of the true divine. So with the trolls, so I wanted to have my own extreme cosmological clashes. I wanted to have my Titanomachias. I wanted to have these forces. So in the war, you're going to have the trolls aligned on one side and they lose. And as I built the game, you'll see this a lot. I realized that people love to play the underdog and people love to be oppressed. I put lots of oppression into the game for lots of different reasons and lots of different species. If you look at the Farum, if you look at the ogres, if you look at the Frayne, what type of Frayne does everyone want to be? They all want to have pink hair.
They all
want to be the Dagataka.
Because they are the most oppressed. So people love it. And I've been well aware of that psychological element, particularly in our times 10 years ago. I wanted to interject that in lots of places. So with the Holdre, we see this oppression. They're basically raped of their mythology, right? This is taken from them. They are the old way, the old species. So we have this Lovecraftian element. We have this sort of Native American mythology element, right? Of a new species, a new order coming in and ravishing what they had put down, and ravishing their ways and their gods, and spitting on their holy things and digging it up and taking it for their own, and applying that and taking those sort of magical secrets. So with the trolls, they are designed to be these ancient things that are being able to function in the idea of a boogeyman to one side, and as this holy icon to another side, and within the Ring of Fire, nothing is supposed to necessarily, well, there are a few things. Most things aren't supposed to be the bad guys.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be able to work it around. And the thing that is eating your children doesn't have to be a bad guy. He just likes to eat your children because it's his perspective. I mean, his story, we can tell it a certain way. So with the trolls, they are meant to guard these ancient secrets, and they are meant to bring forth this ancient sort of holiness that, in a way, when you really get down to it, you start to feel them, almost like one of those broken Enigma songs. You're like, did we do something really, really, really horribly bad here? And are we really trying to tell ourselves that we didn't? So they're trying to bring that up, but at the same time, right? They might just be horrible fucking monsters that were best put out and vanquished by rightly positions, and they brought this magic with them to allow you to, as a Cyclops or as an orc, right, to have this holy side, which is completely different, right? This is basically an entirely different pantheon pushed in there, so you can bring across, a different feeling.
Yeah. So, and to that point, the one of the last times that Nick was in town, and we were hanging out together, we were talking about this, and what he brought up, and I had never even thought of this, but it clicked with me instantaneously. Was he told me, like what he was hoping the Book of True Names was going to be was actually something different than what it was, and not that was a bad book. I love the Book of True Names.
Oh yeah,
but,
and it's super useful and has all sorts of stuff that makes it into my game. Exactly. But what he did think was that, okay, we got the 77 divinities in 77 thrones, and we got the write-ups on all of them. This is going to be the Book of the 44, and we're going to get the individual trolls, their lore, all the different things about them. Right. So it's like you've got this kind of second pantheon that is alluded to, and we're wondering, is that pantheon written down somewhere? Are we gonna get another source book for Within the Ring of Fire?
People are still waiting for more content. I'll tell you that.
We're still waiting for Menagerie and to Here Be Dragons.
Yeah, I could tell you this: there is an enormous amount of content on my computer, probably multiple books worth of actual content.
You heard it here first, gentlemen.
Did you make the fucking books then?
Yeah,
we're here to.
We got a hard promise for more source books.
So I'll tell you this.
Yeah, he is committed.
Flip it.
All of the dragon species are written.
Yeah,
they're all written. The idols are written. So you don't even know what that is. I think maybe Nick does. Maybe you do. I don't know. But
yes.
So there's an enormous amount of additional content sitting there. And I think maybe we'll have to bring
it's funny because I remember
do some videos for you guys.
Yeah, you were alluding to a long time ago, like one of the books that was in the works was this one called Menagerie, which, as you described to me, this is the weird shit, and I was like,
weird shit, yeah.
Yep.
But like Within the Ring of Fire is already full of so much like weird and odd stuff. I'm like, what is going to be weirder than this? Like, bring it on.
My vote definitely
get weird.
Yeah, would be
definitely get weird.
The theological codex, the magical codex of the 44.
Right. Yeah, that is something I would. That would be awesome.
That would be so cool.
We would like to buy that book, sir.
Yes, please.
I have thought about putting some videos up dedicated specifically to maybe one troll or to one of this or that.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is trying to well, not all of them, some of them.
Well, the ones who are free. Yeah.
So there are something that one thing that people didn't really focus on. All right, so the gods are a spiritual species, just like trolls, just like the absolute dragons. They are themselves not divine, which means there's a whole fuck ton of other gods in the game.
Yep.
Which is one of the other things. I mean, there's a whole
mentioned in Saga Book and is mentioned a number of times in your channel.
Right. So that's something that additionally, and those thrones are so coveted, there are individuals coming there.
Yeah.
So I wanted, one of the quibbles that I had with the two of you before I leave was talking about the dominions, and you talked about he who has many names and Loptiv.
Yeah.
Right.
And I went,
we're getting a fact check right now.
How do you not get
Snopes.com.
this? You want to you want to know the erroneous nonsense?
Yeah,
that you
let's
both
go.
figured
Let's
out?
hear it. Air the grievances. Yeah.
So, well, there's no grievance. There is only truth, and I'm your main man's going to bring it to you just the way I always do each and every time. So, what you have is he who has many names is here for a very long time. Loptiv is creeping in, and Loptiv is stealing, and Loptiv is grabbing, and Loptiv is taking. So with Loptiv, you have this covetous creature that is coming for anything that it can get a hold of, and dominions are not meant to be carved in stone. They are things that shift and change. So what you're looking at between lies and lying is a shift and a divinity starting to tug of war. Because to me, this is one of the, and this is a really quintessential domain. This is something, and Nick could tell you, lies are a big thing in my game because people lie all the time. And what you do when you lie is you say a prayer to the god of lies. So, but to Loptiv or to he who has many names, right? So you're having this hotbed of desire, and when you're pushing into something that's that strong, you're going to have the covetous for anything. They want dominions, and that's how, as my son was telling me, well, how does one of these other gods, his guy, he relentlessly badgers him out with Ring of Fire stuff. So, and I said, well, you start to pressure into domains, you start to push up, and you start to have these cults come around you. You start to have more worship. You start to gain, as you see, the spiritual levels inside of this book. As you grow stronger in your spiritual level, you begin to be able to become a contender for such things. You have a cult. So there's meant to be hundreds, maybe even thousands of cults of names of entities that no one knows, right? Some of them I know, and some of them are just designed for you to make up. And we have this god ascending and coming up. That's you're supposed to do that, right? That's my desire for you to do that, so that you put your stamp on it. Make your god can be every bit as cool as any of mine. Just think about it, think it through, and think about how it's trying to insert itself. And that right there is an amazing saga. You can tell the rise and perhaps fall of this divinity. So. And whether they're a troll, whether they're a god, whether they're an angel, whatever they happen to be, something else, a fucking statue that becomes sapient, the first vampire, or whatever it is, it can be whatever. And you can create your own stuff. It's meant to facilitate your creativity, never to restrict it. So that was always my idea there.
All right, we've been fact checked.
The divinities are struggling. They're trying. They don't like each other. They want what each other has for power. And the way I conceptualize them, because I also wrote, and again, it's only loosely put together, but it's skeletoned out with a good bit of flesh on it. What's called the perfect world, which is what happens when Ahriman gets what Ahriman wants.
Yeah.
How does the world look then? And where's the reshuffling of the divinities, right, as we approach that perfect world? And some of you that look at the book one way might assume that the battle lines are drawn very, very differently than they actually would be. And beyond that, there is, so within the Ring of Fire is conceptualized as 4 worlds. So there's a first world that exists inside of this space-time, and it's gone. And there's a second, there's a third, then there's fourth is this one. So the one before that is also, I have a lot of information on that one. I'll just tell you, the name is Terraforming Titan's Light, which has to do with a lot of the various things that you see before. And we see things like the Greys, for example, are from this world.
The previous age.
Understand why they speak a language called Arta that otherwise doesn't necessarily make any sense. And it tells the history, and the entire of it tells the history of Ahriman from the very beginning through, and what Ahriman was, and how Ahriman persisted, and where his or its various entities and various spawns come from, and what things Aramon judges to be perfect or imperfect. And
Yeah.
so I mean, there really is really an enormous amount of stuff that isn't. And for me, it can get confusing because I don't know it. Like I don't have conceptualized. Like I've read this book over and over again. Like I just know
Right.
how all this stuff sort of lines up. So
Right.
sometimes when I talk about it, I'll start talking about something. People's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh, that's not
Well,
in
you
there.
know what
I
helps
didn't
order
realize."
your thoughts
Yeah.
is writing them down. So
Yeah.
Well, I have.
we have a lot of people in the chat.
Yeah, look at this. Look at
who
this
are
right here.
interested.
Onion Kid saying, "New within the Ring of
For
Fire
taking my
books.
money.
Shut up and take my money."
I had to Nick. Remind me. I'll show you how much actual. There's a lot of text files.
Okay.
Let's see. Also,
Also, Andrew was
see you
kind enough
tomorrow.
to make a lot of his dragon and menagerie stuff available to the hardcore fans in the Discord group for free, though it's
Right.
all unpolished and unedited.
Yeah.
Aramon Eclipse event book would be so sick. I don't care if it comes from the creator themselves. If I got to reference something outside of a book, it doesn't exist. Yeah.
So he's saying write the book.
Write the book. Don't make a video. Yeah. We'll do both. Make a video too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to do Passover and SimChat Torah deep.
I don't know what that means.
I don't get it. I guess they're having a conversation that we're missing.
It sounded like
Andrew Wood for president 2024. Choke slam Russia and hit Ukraine with a clothesline. Just beat the shit out of all the other world leaders.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to accept that right now. I will, in fact, fight all the world leaders and take over the new country of Anderlin, which will soon be all countries. So
yeah,
how about that? Yeah. One world barbaric government.
There you go.
Exactly.
I can't do worse than they're doing now.
Yeah,
that's true.
All right. Well, I think that that's probably a good place to stop and wrap up for the night.
Well, it was fantastic. Thank you much, guys, for having me on.
Yeah, for sure.
We will definitely have
we got to get that game going, Matt.
We'll definitely have it.
Let's get that going in the next sooner than later. Maybe we can have that sketched up before the end of the year.
Sure.
I'm going to get your phone number from Nick. I'll give you a call sometime soon, Matt, and we'll talk and get some ideas going.
Yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
I know you will.
Everybody go, if you are interested in Within the Ring of Fire, go to Drive-Thru RPG and just type in Within the Ring of Fire. It's going to come up. You can get all the core books. They are absolutely worth every penny. And it's just a great game. And I think it is. I don't know what else would compete for my favorite game. It just is my favorite game. So it's fucking awesome.
Love hearing that.
And it's been great to have you on. We'll definitely have you back.
Thank you that very much. Yeah. And for anyone out there that thinks it's not for them, every single species in there you can import into your D&D game, your Pathfinder game, to your Savage Worlds game. They are super fucking easy to the point of it probably almost won't even take you a conversion. Like you almost can just one for one it over. It's super easy to do that with, and you will fucking love getting to play a Mihangi while they're playing bitch ass characters from Pathfinder.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, guys. Thank you much. I had fun. Love you guys. And I'll see you, Nick, tomorrow, baby.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody take care. Thanks for tuning in.
Ending the stream.